This is a tutorial on how to set up your APC40 for DJing in Ableton. This template uses all Ableton devices except for a Max for Live device, which is not essential. Makes it a lot nicer, but you don't need it. So if you don't have Max for Live, it's not a big deal. So I'll just go over some basics of how you DJ with Ableton, how to set up just super basics if you're not really familiar with it, and then go over the APC40 layout and how it corresponds to the controls in Ableton. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you have your sound card has two outs on it, because you want one out going to the crowd or your speakers and one out going to your headphones so that you can check stuff if you need to. This is set up over here with the master out and the cue out. So if your master out and your cue out are set to the same, then these things are solo. These blue ones are solo. That's why it says solo/cue here. And if you set them up as different, if it's a different out, then they become cue knobs. So if you want to check, like, a track and you don't want the crowd to hear it, you can have it only be going to cue and not to them. So that's the first major thing. And then there are 4 virtual decks here, 4 audio tracks, and this is where you load your tracks into. And you can load your tracks in through the Ableton browser. You can do it drag and drop through your folder. You can do it through DJ organization programs like Rapid Evolution, like this. Drag and drop. There's your track. And each of these tracks has a 3-band EQ on it. Most consoles for mixing and DJ stuff, they have bass, mids, highs. And we have that mirrored here. And seeing as we have 4 decks, it's split up so that the first 4 faders on the APC deal with total volume for the tracks. And then these 4 faders are for the bass part of the 3-band EQ, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 for decks. This is the mids and the highs. So if you see we're in deck 1, it's the EQ. So this is the low, mid, high. It's set up currently so that you're just doing 0 to 100%. You're just cutting. You're not ever boosting the signal. You can set it up so that you can go past that. I don't like boosting when I'm DJing in Ableton. If I do that on the DJ Mixer, if at all. I usually just like it flat, personally. But those are your 4 decks. And again, those controls are total volume for the first 4, bass EQ, mid EQ, high EQ. So then you have your return tracks here. And these are extra buses that you can send audio through. So it's called, when you hear it, it's usually called send return tracks. And what that means is there's a send, this is the send knob, and this is the return track. So you're sending it out of this deck and in here. And so I have 4 return tracks, and that's set up nicely for these 4 track control banks. Pan, Send A, Send B, and Send C. Hopefully I haven't been crowding over the APC so you can actually see it. So the send controls are going out so that these correspond to the track send. So you see here the A's are going up. And I haven't put any effects in here. And so I've only bound the sending of stuff through the 4 banks. So this is B for each track, and this is C, so on and so forth. So if you want to set up an effect, you have to do that yourself. I'll set up a delay with you. So you go in, and you can pick an Ableton device, or you can pick a plugin. I suggest just sticking with Ableton plugins. A standard cool thing to have on a return is an analog style tape delay. And if you go in, you can do this with Ableton's delays. You go and right click and you select repitch mode. And now when you shift it up and down, it'll adjust its pitch as well, which is a really cool psychedelic effect. So we're going to take the 4 most important controls. We have 4 knobs left because I took up the first 4. So now you have 4 knobs left for controlling the effects unit of your choice on that track. So I'm going to group this ping pong delay into a rack so that we can assign these knobs to macros. So now I'm going to take the 4 most important parameters of this: the feedback, the time, the frequency, and the Q of that filter looking thing. Now I don't like to affect bass frequencies when I'm doing DJ effects, so if you go into the map mode you can adjust the ranges there. So I'm going to make it so that it can't affect anything under 300. And so now that we have that set up, we need to bind those knobs to these, we need to bind these knobs to those macros. So you go into your MIDI map mode, click on your knob, move, 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 and done. Now you can delay the shit out of whatever you would want, which is fun. And you can do that with other types of effects, your reverbs, your glitch things, whatever you want. If you have more parameters than you have knobs to deal with, you can assign multiple parameters to the same knob. So I grouped this reverb into a rack. I'm going to assign both parameters to the same knob. Now when I move this, the parameters both go up and down, 0 to 100%. Now that's nice, but you can also go into the map mode and say invert the ranges so that now they go 0 to 100% and then 100% to 0%, and you can set up a lot of interesting variations there. But that's up for you to explore. And so let's see what's next. So we've set up the returns, gone over that. Okay, so let's go over the Max for Live device that makes your life really easy. So I'm going to drop a bunch of tracks in here, just kind of at random, just to illustrate what happens when you have a set. Because you start off, you're playing one track, and then you have to play another track, and then you're going to have eventually even more clips on these tracks, and you're going to be jumping back and forth and looking at all these different clips. And you don't want to be doing that with your mouse if at all possible. That's why it's great. Turn these down. That's why it's great to be able to. Had the send up on that. Sorry if I blasted you in the ears. So it's nice to have this, because I didn't know the send was up. So you can just take that all down. So you don't hear that weird stuff. So you don't want to use the mouse, like I was saying. So you can use this to do your clip triggering and all that stuff. But what happens if you want to go? Because I have clips playing right now. I have that going and that going, but I can't see. I can if I go through here. But then what about this one? It's kind of a pain. The Max for Live device makes it so that if you hold down one of the track select buttons for a second, it'll skip and go to the clip that is currently actually playing. So it skipped right to the waveform for me. So if you have it set up nicely, if you have it zoomed in to the to a good amount so you can see what you need to see, and then you're skipping around in clips, if you need to get back, you just hold that and boom, you're right back. It makes it even better with this follow command, because let me zoom in so I can make this point. If you hit the follow, then it'll follow along. So you can skip to your different, let me just put this forward and zoom in a little bit. You can skip back and forth, and the follow is bound to stop. So if you hit stop on the APC, it'll toggle that again, and so you can jump around your clips, see which ones are what. And say you wanted to, let me just stop this. You got a track playing, on your first deck, and you don't really remember what the intro is like on the second one, So you take it off of the main speakers, you put the Q on, solo, because I don't have it set up like that right now, so you can hear this clip. But now, if you're DJing right now, you'd only hear this through your headphones if you had the queuing set up properly. So you could see oh, when do I want to bring this in while this one is still playing out to the crowd? Just trying to think if there's anything else you really need to know. Oh, right, quantization and triggering clips. When you go to, assuming that you're actually going through and it's playing, when you hit a clip, you can set it in Ableton so that it will trigger it instantly, like as soon as you hit that, or it can delay it to the next like musical amount. And what I have set up is I choose a bar, and then I'll look at a track, and let's say, I'll see what if you want to do like a standard intro outro mix where there's no break in the beat, you find the last beat in your track. So like this is 206. The last beat is at 206. And then you go to the track you want to play next. And you go, oh, the first beat comes in at 49. So what's 206? Get my calculator up. It's 206 minus 49. It's 157. So if I trigger this clip at 157 in this clip, then I can guarantee that it's going to sync up perfectly, assuming that I've warped everything properly. And I'll link to a good warping tutorial, because I'm not going to go into warping, because it'll be too long of a video. So I can't even remember what number that was. 157. So I'll go in and I'll rename this clip. Now this is Pterafractal, and I'll trigger it at 157 of Puoscari. So now I know that this is a Pterafractal track, and I should activate it at bar 157 of this Puoscari track. And then, so I'll check the number at the end of this, or whatever. You don't have to choose the end. You can choose whatever mix point you want. Like I want to mix in a new track starting here, and I'll say 245, and I want this track to come in at 129. So 249 minus 125, 124. So you would rename this, blah, 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 and then put the 124 in there. And then you just jump through, and then you test that mix out, and you make sure that works. And you can do a bunch of different variations, and you can make sure that you really perfect the shit out of that. And you just go through, and you do that with every track. And then once you have your tracks all set up in the set list that you want, then you can start improvising and putting like effects on stuff. Or you can draw, you can put in, for instance, if you have a bunch of samples of weird shit, like this is like a TED Talk or something. Let's see what this is. Yeah, this is like a TED Talk. So you could take, the TED Talk and send it to delay, and then start messing with the delay.
The universe is really big. We live in a galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy. There are about 100 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy.
And you could put that,
if you take a camera and you point it at a random
over tracks that are playing.
Just keep the shutter open, as long as your camera.
So you could do lots of really interesting stuff, while also having, a pre-planned set and making sure that you know exactly what's going to happen and when, so that you can kind of go off the rails a little bit with effects if you want to, but you can be sure that you're doing everything and providing like a good musical experience for everyone with no breaks, or only breaks when you want them. So that's all good. And again, that's quantization and just a little bit of math, and the quantization is up here, so you can set it. So again, in this example where I wanted to trigger it at 157, I go back to this clip and say, as it's set to 1 bar, I have between here and here to hit the right button. And I find that that's easy enough to do, that I can do it every time. So I hope that was helpful and instructive, and if you have any questions about anything I said, or if I left anything out, I'll get back to you. Just leave a comment.